Is this picture an example of right-wing extremism? Because if you look closely, there is nothing extremist about it. So why do you get a feeling that it is? And why can't you come up with a counter-argument against this picture? What even is the argument the picture is making in the first place? I will explain why similar pictures and memes are propaganda, what fallacies and propaganda techniques they use, and why they are so effective, so that you can recognize this kind of propaganda in the future and explain to others how it works. In this example, like in many others, nothing extraordinary happens. A happy family enjoying quality time together. Pretty normal behavior. So why would it bother anyone? Well, it doesn't. And that's where the fallacy is, namely the strawman fallacy. But there is a lot more to it you should be aware of. If we represent the political ideology of the population on the commonly used left-right spectrum, which is a terrible way to describe political opinions, but will be good enough for this example, you get some kind of distribution with people on the left and right, in the center, and on the extremes. And they advocate for different policies. For example, someone on the right may advocate for less taxes and less financial government support, like universal healthcare or education, while someone on the left would advocate for higher taxes but more financial government support in return. The further you go right, the less taxes and support, and the further you go left, the more, while someone in the center will advocate for some kind of balance. If you go far enough on either side, you may encounter political opinions that people would label as extremist. For example, someone on the extreme right may hold a political opinion that if someone breaks their arm, loses their ability to work, and as a result their income, they should starve to death if they did not save up enough money to cover medical expenses and the lack of income, and absolutely no government support should be provided. While someone on the extreme left may advocate for universal income for every single person, even for people who do not work a single day in their life, not because of any sort of disability or other external factors, they just simply don't feel like it, contributing nothing to society and living off of others' hard work in what could be described as a parasitic lifestyle. And you could go even further on either extreme, where people are advocating for violating the YouTube guidelines. Back to the picture, there isn't really anything politically charged about it. You may notice some dog whistles, whether they are intentional or not, but many people would find nothing wrong with this picture. Just the opposite. Many people would react positively to it. The vast majority of people like to spend time with their family on a sunny day in a well-kept garden, eating hot dogs and just being happy. If we represent the share of the total population who find this picture positive and can relate to it or identify with it on the same left-right spectrum, we get something like this as an example. And this is where the strawman fallacies come in, because there are two of them. If you are not really involved in politics, then you don't know the programs of political parties that you can vote for and rely mostly on the labels. What I mean by that is if people describe your political ideology as left, center or right, you will vote for a party that is left, center or right. And according to highly accurate scientific statistics I just pulled out of my ass, this is how most people vote. Honestly, when was the last time that before an election you read through the programs of all the parties that were running? Not just the major parties that were in the parliament in the last election, but all of the parties that were running. So what does this method of selecting a party have to do with the meme? What this meme tries to do with the strawman fallacy is to push the definitions to the left, turning left into center, center into right, and so on. The policies people are advocating for remain unchanged, but their labels do not. It is easier to convince people about the meaning of certain labels rather than to change their political opinions. After all, political opinions come mostly from your position in life. If you are old, you want a greater pension and don't care about taxes. If you are young, you want to pay less taxes and you don't really care about the pensions. If you own a house, you want the house prices to go up. Maybe you even rent out a property, so you are against rent control. Are you a renter who is looking to buy? Just the opposite. And yes, people can be convinced to vote against their own interest, but it takes a lot of effort and propaganda. Meanwhile, changing the meaning of a word is much easier. We do it all the time. Just take the word set, for example. But we can stay on topic in the context of left and right. A centrist might be a left-winger if you are right. After all, they are left from you on the spectrum. And if you are on the extreme left, a moderate left-winger may be labeled as right-winger. A centrist may be even labeled as an extremist. You, on the other hand, don't consider yourself an extremist. After all, your political ideology makes perfect sense to you. Why would it be extremist? I mean, you wouldn't hold this opinion if it wouldn't make sense to you. And not just that, but these are not clear-cut boundaries. More like this. I mean, how much taxes do you need to be willing to pay to be a centrist and not a right-winger? 20%? Why not 19.99999 and you get it? There is certainly a cutoff line in there, but where exactly it is varies depending on who you ask. And you can apply this not just to taxes, but other policies too. So if you're a person who is advocating for centrist policies, but identify with this picture, well, maybe you are not even a centrist, but a right-winger, and maybe you should vote accordingly next time. And it was not even necessary to convince you to change your political beliefs, just to convince you that you are not a centrist, but a right-winger. After all, if you are right-wing and the political party is right-wing, well, then you have the exact same political ideologies, don't you? And this meme is misrepresenting not just the right-wing stance on politics, but the left too, and also everything in between. I mean, if this is right-wing extremism, does that mean that the left is not in favor of happy families, beautiful gardens, and sunny days? Or maybe even worse, they are against it. And if that is the left, what about the extreme left? And it pushes this even further, because this is not just being right-wing, this is what is considered extreme. And if you are being labeled as a right-wing extremist for this, you shouldn't really feel uncomfortable being labeled a right-wing extremist at all, even if you are actually advocating for extremism. And to keep things fresh, there are some more examples now from the other side, and well, they are shit, to be honest. The same shifting the definitions thing also applies here, now in the opposite direction, obviously. Additionally, you may also notice a combination of ad hominem and appeal to authority. The right is represented as psychopathic and evil or just ugly, while the left is represented as innocent and hopeful or just as the traditional good-looking Chad. And due to these two very obvious fallacies, it is really easy to recognize that these memes are propaganda and also to realize their aim. Same with the TMU version of the right-wing ones. The reason the first one is so effective is because it is really hard to recognize a fallacy. It's more subtle. You may have a subtle unpleasant feeling, but you don't really know if it is because this is propaganda or just because your political beliefs are being challenged. And if you don't know what fallacy you are countering and you just claim that this is right-wing extremism, well, congratulations, now you are part of the propaganda and are a perfect example of the point the creator of the meme is trying to make. But I hope now you understand how it works. But there is more to it. As I mentioned, you may notice some dog whistles. Maybe unintentionally, maybe not, doesn't really matter, it still gets the message across to the target audience. Two things many people will not pay attention to is the ethnicity and sex of the people, and to them it's not really a relevant thing. However, if you subscribe to certain talking points of some right-wing groups, this may reinforce the belief in those points. And I use the word subscribe intentionally. You may call it a dog whistle, and most likely it is. If you believe the idea that they push race mixing and LGBT, then this meme may convince you that they, you a heterosexual couple from the same race, or just being normal as some people would refer to it, as right-wing extremism. You may even draw further conclusions that the family as an institution is under attack. Or if you already believe that, it will just reinforce that belief. And if you don't know how dog whistles work, and instead of describing why this meme can be considered one, and you just say that this meme is racist or anti-LGBT, well, again, you are now part of the meme, telling people that innocent things are now considered right-wing extremism. You should also check out my last video about more propaganda memes. I hope you enjoyed the video and learned something. If you did, please like, comment and subscribe, and see you next time.